Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Monday, August the 19th, and it is pre-trading time at 8:23 a.m. Eastern. If we take a look at what's going on in the futures markets right now, we can see that the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are just up slightly, like very, very little, but in the green, and the Dow is down very, very little in the red. It's pretty much flat across the board. And my guidance for you this week is to sit and wait. I would prefer to be on the sidelines this week waiting for a buy opportunity than I would invested in long or short positions. The big announcement and big news of the week is going to be Friday when Jerome Powell speaks in Wyoming at Jackson Hole at the Jackson Hole Symposium hosted by the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas. And when he comes out, the expectation there is not on a rate cut in September. That's already really been priced into the market. It's going to be on the size of that rate cut and any mention around that, which likely won't happen, but suggestions towards that, language indicating size, and then the momentum forward. What other number of rate cuts can we potentially expect through to the end of 2024? So that's where we are today at a high level. If we dig into our list of stocks we follow, in the Yahoo Finance app, what we'll see is that some of the retail stocks are trading higher this morning in the pre-market. We have Lowe's reporting this week. We have Target reporting this week. I believe Macy's reports this week. We've got a bunch of retail reporting this week. It's not a huge reporting week, all told. Today, after market close, we have PANW reporting, which is Palo Alto Networks. So that will be an interesting one in the network cybersecurity space to see what's happening. I expect some positive results out of them for a few reasons. First of all, NAT or Cloudflare had some good results earlier this month, and then Cisco last week had some good results. So if there was one to put some money into forecasting a positive spike after earnings, I think PANW or Palo Alto might be one of those. Healthcare, relatively flat. You can see that HCA is up to 1469 right now pre-market. Again, don't look into this very much. It may open flat. These healthcare stocks tend to move or can move from time to time a fair bit in the pre-market, but they don't necessarily open at those pre-market levels. So if you dive into that, you can see that around 8 a.m. or just before this stock, what time was it here? Yeah, around 8 a.m., it started to spike, and it spiked to 8:04, and it went up that $16. No news around that I'm aware of that would indicate why it would do that. So this could just be a pre-market spike, and then it could come down. It could remain up there as well, but just something to be aware of. I think we're going to see some interesting moves in the next week in transport, and to the negative, because CNR and CP, two Canadian railroads, are threatening to go on strike and be locked out on August 22nd. And if that happens and they get locked out at midnight of the 22nd, then it's going to prevent a great deal of goods from getting delivered from port cities coming in on ships and containers to their end destinations and get them onto transports. So this is going to significantly affect goods distributions, and I don't think it'll last long, but it should have some negative effects on those railway stocks, CNR being one of them. And at the same time, I think JB Hunt, a transport stock, which needs the trains to deliver them to deliver the container ships so that they can then deliver them through the transport networks, they're going to be impacted as well. And they're off almost $5 this morning. I don't see JB Hunt right now with their bad earnings recently as a $170 stock. I think it's more of a $150 to $155 stock. So let's see how much that falls over the course of the next couple of weeks. Oil has been a roller coaster over the last month or so, and crude is down again this morning. It's off 55 cents. We've got a mix of green and red on the screen. Again, we're waiting for these tensions in the Middle East and possible ceasefire agreements to be signed and agreed to. It seems like they always get signed, but then things happen and the agreements are broken. I'm not sure, can't predict the future there as to what's happening. But if we go based on what's happened in the past, there's going to be another attack, and that's going to drive oil prices up. And at the same time, the oil refineries, the stocks that we follow, have very strong business models, and they're doing fine in the refinery of oil outside of the Middle East and the processing of that within the US. So I think we're still going to see oil stocks overall move up through September and October. So I'm sticking to my longer term holds in some of the oil positions, particularly VLO. We get down into the tech stocks, and you can see that Micron is off slightly. I think that is a $150 stock before the end of October or November, especially around earnings. Their earnings don't come out for quite some time. They come out towards the end of September. So it'll be interesting to see as we lead into that. Next week on the 28th, we've got NVDA coming out. We've got very high expectations for NVIDIA based on the AI CapEx spending that's happening across companies and sectors, particularly in tech, but also in other sectors now. Walmart being the best example of that, coming out and speaking to the benefits of generative AI in their earnings and efficiency numbers in this last quarter last week. We've got CrowdStrike up a little bit, but it has fallen based on the global outage. Palantir is up to some new highs here. As we scroll down, CRM is going to report soon. It's going to report next week, not this week. I do have some positive expectations on this one. I think this will be a $290, $300 stock by the end of next week based on some positive announcements coming out of that company with earnings. Palo Alto, so interesting. So this was down $3 just minutes ago. It's now up $3 in the pre-market. I do expect they're going to have some good earnings today. And if I could get into this in the 330, 332 range, I think it would definitely be something worth looking at. So I'm going to watch for the volatility in this today and see if I can take a position in that to benefit on the earnings announcement after market today. Cloudflare, which I talked about earlier in this video, is down slightly. I expect that will turn. This stock should get back up. It probably will get a positive lift on good news from Palo Alto today. So if Palo Alto comes out with positive earnings, I would expect that net would bounce a bit as well and head a little bit higher. Scrolling down, if we take a look at Microsoft, it's getting close to the 420s, having been down in the low 400s or even 390s earlier. We've got ARM up slightly at 30 cents, down slightly at minus 30 cents. AMD is up this morning pre-market, almost $4. We have EA up slightly, Qualcomm up slightly. As we scroll down, the big one that's off today that has earnings coming up soon as well as Workday. This could be another attractive hold for this week. Workday announces in 3 days, and I think the results from Workday are going to be good. Workday has had some positive news recently around its government cloud and what it's been doing in the government space. So we'll see what comes out of that, but I do expect some positive earnings and news announcements out of Workday. So if that does drop to the tune of $5 or more this morning, might be an interesting acquisition going into earnings. Lam Research was off $3 or $5 earlier, just minutes ago. It's now up $4 today. This is a stock that, if we just look at the last 5 days, it's been down at the $800 level. It's now climbed. It's almost at $900. It's obviously $870. I think it'll get up to the $920, $950 level as we head into NVIDIA earnings in the coming week. And then Amazon up $1. You've got Meta off. I'm waiting for a drop in Meta. So if Meta were to come back down into the 510s, the low 500s, I would be picking up Meta again. I've been in and out of Meta and taking $40 moves on that, which have been very positive. And I'm waiting for that to come back. I think it's got a lot of things going for it, and I think it's an extremely strong company, but I'm just waiting for a bit of a discount on the price before I buy back into that. And then you've got NVIDIA. NVIDIA is the crown jewel of AI right right now. It is up slightly pre-market. I do expect this to pull back down into the low 120s, maybe even the high 119s, 118 range there. And if it does, I'm going to buy that ahead of earnings and hold that through earnings. Google, which has been hit hard over the last couple of weeks, looks like it's up a couple of dollars pre-market. I expect this will climb back into the mid 170s as we get into NVDA earnings. Again, another extremely strong company. And then we've got Adobe, and Adobe's got results coming up soon as well. Not until September, the 12th of September, but I expect the earnings here will be positive. They've had a bit of a weak start to the year, but I think the last half of the year, the second half of 2024, will be extremely positive for NVIDIA. And if you've stuck it out, I think you're not only going to go back into the green on your investments if you're down a little like I am right now, but I think you'll actually have a profit by the end of the year. And then TSM, one of the other semis, I think it's going to continue to move forward. I think it'll continue to get lifted by NVIDIA and the moves that we see in NVIDIA. And so I'm holding on to that. And if anything, I'm buying more of TSM, especially in the low 170s. And finally, we get into finance. So with finance, the ones that I'm a huge fan of are SoFi. SoFi closed at 7. It looks like it's going to be up around 7.09 at the open. That's a big move for a $7 stock, 9 or 10 cents. And it's been climbing significantly over the last couple of weeks after it took a bit of a hit. And I think as we move into Friday, all finance stocks are going to start climbing. So if we see a pullback in any one of these, Raymond James, a good example this morning, off $3 and call it 50 cents, might be an interesting time to buy into those on a bit of a pullback or a bit of a dip, because I do believe that the conversation that happens, or even just the build up to the conversation on Friday in Jackson Hole at the symposium, will be positive across the board for financials. So we've seen them start to climb back. I may sell them prior to Friday and what Jerome Powell speaks of, because there may not be any real news to act upon, but I do believe they're going to have a good week this week. So I would just be patient, wait for a pullback, and get in if there is such a pullback in any one of those good quality names. That's where we are today. I hope you're enjoying the videos. If you are, please share it with a friend, leave me a like and a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you want to be updated when I release these on a daily basis. Have a great trading day and good luck.